Hey everyone, welcome to the Recruitment Show. We are talking about all of the major topics that people are discussing right now. Everything recruiting, future of work, and everything in between. I've got guests from all over the world to come and share their perspective and their thoughts and feelings and all of that stuff on these key topics. It might not be politically correct. It might not be what you want to hear, but it's people's perspectives, and it's important to hear people's perspectives. I love storytelling, and I think one story can illuminate a million more and really increase our understanding of these topics. So sit back, whether you're watching live or after, grab a drink, take a seat, and enjoy. Awesome, and we're live. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Liz. I'm try and get your surname right, Villani.
That's right.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining. Let me give you a little intro just to give everyone some context, and then we can have a chat. I love this topic, bring your authentic self to work. Really interested to speak to you about that. So just for context, so Liz is the founder of Be Yourself at Work, an organization that helps companies create a new narrative around careers. A company allows and encourages people to be their authentic selves and see work as an opportunity to make a unique difference. And they've created an I Am product, which I'm really interested to hear about, which helps people define their character by understanding their values. Hope you've done you justice there. Welcome, Liz.
Yes, you definitely have. You're very welcome.
Thank
Good
you.
to meet you. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. Lovely. Pleasure. Maybe to start with, why did you start Be Yourself at Work? What was the inspiration behind it?
That's a big question.
Big question. Often the easy ones are the biggest ones.
Big question. Yeah. No, it's a good one. So I've always loved work. Growing up in the 1970s and 80s, I'm showing my age now, in a single parent family, going to local comprehensive, I had I guess you would just describe it as a challenging social mobility background these days in today's language. I started work really young, so I was literally in my early teens when I found different jobs, and I just at that time found that I could be me, so I could get away. I always felt I was good at school, but I always sort of felt it was a bit constrictive. So, and having challenges, school, right. Kind of, there's the structure of, you have to go here and do this, and then you have to go there and do that. I'm a little bit too rebellious for that, but too much of a good girl to kind of be disruptive, if you like. Right. So going and finding a job, my first job, I was a chambermaid. I used to cycle to go and change beds. I trained as a chef in a local restaurant in the Midlands where I grew up outside of school as a teenager. And I just found I could be me, if you like. I discovered me when I was at work. And so, so I guess
what was it?
A lot of,
just out of interest, what was it about the work environment versus the school environment that enabled you to find yourself or feel comfortable or feel happy, or however you might describe it?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I think I've always felt different. I think a lot of people with social mobility backgrounds do feel different. Being in a single parent family was quite unusual in those days. It was frowned upon. It was a challenge. So at school, when you're in that situation, you tend to compare yourself to other people. Naturally, from a values perspective, I like to be free. I like to challenge things. I don't necessarily conform to rigid structures of working and those things. Whereas, a bell going and you go here and a new timetable says there, and then you're comparing yourself to other people. I always felt a little bit restricted when I was in that environment. Whereas in a work environment, I could just express myself. I could be Liz. I could be independent. Nobody was watching what I was saying. I could make people happy. If I was chefing or creating dishes or waitressing or whatever I was doing, as we do as teenagers, we're not in the corporate career then. No. Then I could see how what I said or my energy could make people happy. And could make a difference. It's just an expression of self that I didn't experience at home or at school. I really loved. yeah, and I felt like I could be me.
Love that. Love that. How
Um,
did that evolve then? So you started working early.
mm.
You probably, I guess you finished school and
Yeah, so I
then,
finished school. I went to university. My
right.
dream job
Okay.
was actually to be a food buyer. So my dream
Ooh,
was really, I had this. I used to love. We didn't have very much money growing up, and so going to a supermarket then, we all do it now, but going to a supermarket then was a treat. You know, if you when you were on a challenging budget back in those days, you went to the market. To get your food, so yeah, we did. So it was. I used to, oh my god, like we'd go, and I would try and work out who somebody was based upon what was in their shopping basket or their
oh,
trolley, and I
nice.
still do it now. I'm dreadful. And the idea for me of being able to influence how someone felt or who they were, you know, how they experienced their life and make them happy by putting a product in their kitchen or their fridge that they would experience to make them, you know, healthy or happy. I was
Yeah.
just blown away by that whole idea of being able to
I,
influence people like that.
no, I love that. I still like going to the market. The market's where you get the best food, fresh
I agree.
fruit, veg. It's
I
incredible
agree.
food markets. Um,
Totally. I know. We need to
but
have more of them.
we do. But I think most people are probably, I was interested to see this. I don't know whether most people or not, because I don't know the stats, but probably getting their food delivered. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and even now I'm a foodie and I will walk around markets. My husband's French, so when we go to France, I just love it because you can
They've got
actually, you know,
incredible.
oh, just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, so you know, I've always been really career focused. I had a real dream. I went to university. I got my dream job, and I absolutely loved it. But I saw my friends, my family, the people around me, people I worked with, all starting to change and conform. You know that, you know, if you ask a 10-year-old child or whatever, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or maybe a bit younger, like 7 or 8, you know, and they get this spark in their eye, you know, this magic. Oh, I want to
Yeah.
be a nurse or a doctor or fly a plane or be a footballer or whatever. Um, that spark seemed to go the minute people got a job, a proper job. And I was fascinated by that.
Yeah. That excitement and energy you have as a kid, that it's interesting, isn't it? That starts to
Yeah.
as it starts to wane, but you have to really lean into it to keep it as an adult, I think.
Completely, completely. And we're just about to launch the Be Yourself at Work survey later this week. It'll be on our website and we'll put it on our LinkedIn page, Be Yourself at Work. And one of the questions that we ask in the survey, we did the survey in 2019-20. And one of the questions that we're asking in the repeat survey is, did you have a dream job or industry as a child? And are you or have you worked within that industry? Because it's just really interesting. I'll go off on a tangent, but to see
No,
if
no,
you
it's
followed
interesting.
dreams.
It's interesting, and I think they're super important. Like dreams are, and often you want to be what you can see, right? Like you can see someone is a whatever it might be,
Mm.
you identify with it, you want to be it, and stuff like that. What's interesting now is it's hard to imagine what the jobs of the future, what the jobs of next year or 2 years or 3 years. Things are going so quick.
Oh,
The
yeah.
the on the other side of the coin, though, I think I often, if there's I got asked to. I think there was like in primary school, there was like a, careers day and, like what do you want to be when you grow up and stuff. And on the other side of the coin is actually, for young people, I would say just try stuff,
Yeah,
like go collect experiences. It's often, the person you work with is often most valuable than the actual job itself. Like you learn so many things from working with great people and learning and seeing how they do things and stuff like that. So I think like early on in your career, like it's fine to try stuff. Like really is fine to try
completely.
stuff.
Yeah, completely. And you know, one of the things that we talk about Be Yourself at Work is actually, you know, the movement of Be Yourself at Work. You know, for so many people now, work is almost like an inconvenience. It's something that they see as encroaching on their life that they see outside of work. Um, and actually, you know, particularly for young people coming into work, you know, if you can see and change the way you think about work so that, you know, work is an opportunity to play to a certain extent. It's an opportunity for you to experience yourself and who you are and make a difference. And you have choices. A lot of people will say to me, well, hang on a minute, Liz, if you work in a factory, you haven't got a choice. Well, I know plenty of people that work in factories and they've worked hard and they work their way up and they make a massive difference to the people in their world around them. And so see work as exciting, as something that you can have a try with. You can change different kind of jobs, and experience different things. Yeah, to be you.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I have a few different views on this. And I think, number one is, the work's the thing you do most in your life. You spend more time with your colleagues and etc. than you do with your family and your friends, right?
Yeah.
If you're working in a factory, it's classic kind of whatever, let's say 9 to 5, and you've got to clock in and clock out. If you're fortunate enough to do a job that's flexible and you can choose your hours and you're home based, or you can get whatever, you pick a bit. But I think it's important to do what you enjoy and be happy. The other thing is, so many people talk about it and it's really quite hard to achieve. Most people I speak with, they're not there. They're not doing something that they're like jumping out of bed for. They're not like, oh damn, it's Friday, or yes, it's Monday. Like a lot of,
I know.
which is what you should be, right? You should be like
completely.
that. But many people aren't, and I think there's a lot of pressure for people to find that. Like everyone talks about it on social media, on podcasts like this. It's like, you got to do what makes you happy, and I think that's for sure the goal.
Yeah.
What do you think then, just on because a lot of folks I speak with, then they're like, hey, do you know what, economics, right? Like I have to earn money, support my family and stuff, and actually it's not the most enjoyable thing, and maybe it wasn't what I dreamed about when I was growing up, but it pays the bills.
Yeah.
And so I bring some of myself to work, but the rest of myself, actually, it's me on the weekend kind of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
How long have we got for this podcast? So the answer, I've been doing this for over a decade now, and we've worked with some of the biggest companies in the world and some of the smallest companies in the world. And actually, the answers are really straightforward. The first thing is you have to feel able to be you. So if you want to be happy in your work, the quickest way to be happy in your work is actually to make your work an expression of yourself. Be yourself. That will make you happy. It's the same if you be yourself at the weekend, you'll be happy at the weekend.
What do you mean by, sorry to interrupt, just by being yourself? Because are there set?
Yes. Yeah. So this is hence how long have you got for this podcast? So we measure it. Only 16% of people feel like they can be themselves at work. But here's the challenge. Okay. Only 24% of people, when you ask them, actually know who they are. So how can you be you if you don't know who you are? And if you don't know who you are, you can't consciously understand how to be you and how to bring your whole self to work. And a lot of people, when you say to them, who are you? They'll say, this is my name, my history, my story, my self-doubt, my experience, my skills, my education, my kids, my husband, my wife, where I live. All of that is just in your journey and in your head. Who you really are as Lewis is on the inside of you. It's your character, it's your values. And if you can really understand your values and what makes you uniquely, you can consciously use that to actually express yourself, to work in an industry that allows you and aligns to your values. The challenge, though, the second part, and it's much easier than people think. Number one, know your values, know who you are. Number one, talk about bringing your whole self to work. That is you. Find out who you are, your values. Second thing is actually to be confident enough to be yourself. So one of the things that we reviewed in the last survey, and we're doing in this year's survey again, is measuring how comfortable people are with being them. So this is one of the biggest challenges with workplace culture. We all want to look impressive. We all want to appear to be competent, to be capable of what we're doing. And yet on the inside, the vast majority of us are really self-conscious. We really worry what people think about us. We compare ourselves to other people. I'll tell you a statistic. Over 70% of men never have a positive conversation with themselves on the inside.
Really? How many? Say that again.
No, over 70% of men never have a positive conversation with themselves on the inside. That came out of the survey, the last statistical survey on Be Yourself at Work. So if you think about the fact that we compare ourselves to others, we're really critical of ourselves, we want to appear competent and capable of what we're doing, the immediate tendency for human beings is to change ourselves to look more impressive. The minute we do that, we move away from who we are. The minute you move away from who you are, what happens is you stop being as happy. You feel less you. You can't bring your whole self to work. So what we've got to do, what we work on doing anyway, and what I've spent my life doing, is helping people to understand you, and then have the confidence to be you. And that those two things will make you happy, and they're both within your control.
Yeah, no, love that, love that. Yeah. I think a lot of the time people wait for the company to provide these kinds of things when actually it's you, right? It's you deciding how you spend your time, what you do, whether it's exercise, eating well, sleeping well, all this positive talk, right? Because you hear yourself the most, right? You're in your head
Yeah,
talking,
you're in your own
you know.
head. Cool. Yeah,
You're in your own head. You can look in the mirror
absolutely.
and tell yourself you're the best on whatever on the planet, and it's always a self-talk of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not whatever enough,
Yes.
and if you just take one little word out,
Yeah.
the not, and just say, I am, and just keep doing it, keep
Exactly.
doing it, keep doing it.
Exactly. Exactly. I am good enough. I am capable of doing this. And that positive self talk, it just transforms everything, because the other thing that happens is that people stop making things about them and worrying about them and overthinking and procrastinating. Once you accept yourself and know yourself, suddenly it's about other people. And you hear people, and you can be intuitive, and you can have conversations that can change people's lives because you're there for them in the world of
Yeah, yeah,
work.
yeah.
Amazing.
No, I think it's so powerful, and then you mentioned social mobility and all of these things, and I think a lot of the time, you hear people say, it's really difficult for me because I'm from
Yes.
or I am or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, and what are your thoughts on kind of just changing that narrative to it doesn't matter, whatever, right? Like it doesn't matter it's down to me and my thoughts, and I can do it
Yeah.
wherever I'm from. You
Absolutely.
get
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. It's about how you define yourself. So if you define yourself, as, a woman or a man, or from a council estate, or, from the school you went to, or the friends you have, or the country you come from, or the color of your skin, or how much money you've got, or all of that stuff, if you define yourself in those terms, then you'll for always feel out of control within your circumstances and feel different. The trick is to really define yourself by who you are. You know, we're all so unique, and yet when we feel different to other people, we have this feeling like we need to change. Don't change. Be you, but be the best you.
yeah, yeah,
Be
yeah.
the best version of you.
And also,
Um,
I think it's probably worth noting as well that a lot of people struggle with this, finding it. I read a great book by a guy called Bill George called "Finding Your True North." If you've read it, really great book, and that's about leadership. Yeah, and even folks that are like kind of far on in their career and they're in a leadership role or they're entering their first leadership role and they're trying to work out what their leadership means. And this is all linked to find what's your purpose, what are your
yeah,
values, how do you find
exactly.
your true north.
Your
And I
true
think
north. Yeah.
yeah, and I just think also it's just a lot of people it takes a while to find.
So it can be really fast. So this is my other challenge to everybody that listens to this podcast. So you are the world expert on you. All you've got to do is create a small amount of time to reflect and describe yourself. And we've got a freebie. So if you go on to beyourselfatwork.com, a pop-up will come up, okay? And you can actually click on the free values experience. And in
Awesome,
5 minutes, you can define 3 values, put in your contact detail, your email address or something. I am will actually email you how to use them. And that's just a starting set. And I've made a commitment this year that over the next 2 months, we're going to release a version of I Am that helps anybody applying for a job to create their own value set and actually apply for that job so that they're recruited for who they are as well as what they know. And that's going to be
nice,
available for anybody everywhere. Yeah.
love that. I love that. What can companies do anything to help their people? do this?
Completely. Oh, totally. Again, it's about encouraging people to find and use their own power and understand who they are. The most advanced companies that we see, they get the fact that you can't have a homogenized culture. If in order to be able to get the best behaviors for the leaders to get the best out of people, the managers, you've got to create a philosophy that people can be them. You've got to recruit people for who they are. You've got to help people to have confidence in themselves and acknowledge that we're all making it up as we go along. At the moment, the world is still, certainly from a learning development perspective, by old school models, business school thinking, and all of that's great when it comes to strategy and business and all of that stuff. But actually, as people, any organization that really comes forward and says, we want you to be you, we're going to help you to understand you, we're going to help you to really make your difference here. Wow.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, I think, you talked about the 1970s, and maybe in the 1970s, a lot of people had stayed somewhere for quite a while, right? It was the kind of the job for life. Leaders could use the paycheck to knock people over the head and so forth. Now, I mean, the game has changed incredibly. If someone isn't happy in a company,
Yeah.
they're off, right?
Yeah.
They're off
They'll go
completely.
completely.
So, I posted about this the other day. Like if you're focusing as a company just on your profit and your company's success, you're missing a massive trick. If you focus on making your people successful,
Yes.
then guess what's going to happen? People are going to stay longer. They're going to work better. Everyone's going to do better. The whole thing. And I think there's a fundamental shift now that people are starting to make. More need to make it. To focus more on people and individuals. Everyone's unique, and to your point on culture, it used to be, we've got a great culture, we have free food, we had a foosball table,
Pool
you can play pool,
table. Yeah, all of that stuff.
it's Friday, drinks from 3:00, and we've got an amazing culture. Actually, I think it's the really good culture is like the leader or whoever, just people caring about each other.
Yeah.
Like, Liz, how you doing?
Yeah,
What's going on?
even asking, how's your weekend? How are you feeling today? But I think the other thing we talk about, which I know for some people is controversial because it's a lot ahead of its time. We know that because of the work we do, is actually help people to feel more accountable for how they feel. So we're still in this sort of
How do you do
epidemic
that?
of feedback. Well, yeah, easily. So at the moment, what we do is we go, right, you're a manager, you have to tell that person how great they are. You need to give them feedback. So what happens is that, so if I work for you, I'm expecting you to go, oh, Liz, you're doing a really great job. I think you're great. Da, da, da. And I go, oh, good. Okay. But we know most of us can't accept a compliment fully. Over 65% of us just bat it off. We measure it. Okay. We just won't hear it. But actually, that is a strategy to fuel my confidence. It's outside of me. So my resilience, I can't control my resilience. I'm reliant on you for a gold star to a certain extent, or whatever it is. And so I'm actually completely reliant on externals around me. So instead of saying, Liz, Lewis, I'm your manager, Lewis. I think you're doing a really great job there. Well done. And I just bat it off or whatever, or I'm relying on it to fuel my confidence. Say, Liz, what about that was really good? Talk to me. Okay. Tell me what was fantastic about the job that you've just done. I am then forced to go, oh, okay. So maybe I did do a good job there. So maybe I actually got my ducks in a row and I knew my numbers or whatever it happened to be. I'm fueling my own sense of resilience and self rather than relying on something I'm just batting off all the time. So let's stop telling our managers to give feedback to people and tell our managers and people to actually help each other to compliment themselves.
No, I love that. And just kind of connecting that to your earlier points of, of yourself taking responsibility and your self-talk and the whole thing. Imagine when you're at a point where you're telling yourself you've done an incredible job, and actually all of this external stuff, great. I mean, whatever, it almost doesn't even matter because you know how good you are. And when you know how good you are, not in an arrogant way, you can be arrogant in your head, right? Which is maybe
there's nothing wrong with knowing your strengths.
Yeah. And actually quadruple down on them.
Yeah.
So you always people focus so much on this. You know, you talk about feedback. It's the feedback. A lot of the feedback's on your weaknesses or your development
Mm,
areas or whatever. You know, but quadruple down on the strengths. They're your
completely.
superpowers. You know.
Exactly. And use your superpowers and be open to the things that aren't your superpowers and help and allow other people to be them, to kind of like join those things up so that as a team and as a collective, you're just amazing. Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. Well, what do you think about this? This is interesting. So obviously we're talking about bringing yourself to work, right?
Mm.
Your whole self to work. And do you think that's a distinction between bringing your authentic self to work, or is that the same thing?
It's for us, it be yourself at work language, it's the same thing.
Same
So
thing.
uh,
Okay, fine,
it's the same
fine.
thing. So it comes back to the labels, the
Okay,
generational
fine.
labels,
And
the
so
yeah.
on that,
Mm.
there's also a lot of there's been so much conversation on it, and I think it's great. Um, but more and more, like I speak to people in companies and stuff, and you say, people say, well, companies say, it's the culture. Bring your authentic self to work. Bring your whole self to work. We embrace diversity. We're inclusive of everyone and stuff. But so much actually, you feel like people say, bring your authentic self to work as long as you believe what I believe. Otherwise, leave some of that at home, right? And
Yeah.
and so obviously, specifically, you kind of think about these emotive topics that people are told not to speak about at work, like politics,
Mm.
religion, football,
Yeah.
whatever, just things that can
Yeah.
be quite emotive.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. It We've got to help. We've got to be ourselves, but we've also got to accept that other people aren't like us. Okay, so I'll give you an example. With our one, we work one on one. It's a bit like coaching. Be yourself at work, and over 70% of the time, in the first 2 or 3 calls, no matter what industry, with whatever people, we're helping that person to cope with working with the people they have to work with.
Right.
And it's not because, I know, it's not because the other people are awful or, need to be got rid of or taken to a tribunal most of the time and those kind of things. It's just that those people are different to that person. And what we do as individuals within the world of work generally is if you're different, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. And I unconsciously expect everybody to be like me. And of course, we're all different and we're all unique. So it's really about creating that environment where you go within yourself. Okay, this is what makes me me, and I'm going to find out what makes you you and everyone else, and I'm going to really help you to be you, and I'm going to be me, and I'm not going to make you wrong because you're not like me or you say something different. Um, so it's really about helping people to be super self-aware and championing difference, championing an inclusive environment where people can actually use their own sense of independence and self rather than
Yeah.
just a homogenization of what the leader says or
Yeah.
how they act.
Yeah. No, true. Look, I mean, I think some of the best folks I know, some of the most successful people, they lean in with curiosity. Like they actually they want to understand people, and to understand people, you have to listen to them.
Yes.
And it's only the top few that get to the top, right? And I do see this in those folks that make it. It's they want to understand people, and humans are weird because many of us have a real problem with having a conversation with someone who disagrees with us without it turning into an argument.
Yes.
You see it all the
Agreed.
time, right?
Yeah.
And just think of the most emotive thing you can possibly think of. Can you just sit down and have a conversation with someone, try and understand their perspective, because there's many perspectives on things, right?
Yeah.
Um, and but can you work effectively in a high performing team with someone that you fundamentally disagree with? I think that's just such an interesting thing. And if you can, if you're leaning with curiosity, if you appreciate there's other perspectives and stuff, then I think this is such a great strength. As all of this AI stuff takes hold, that human skill of whether it's curiosity, being empathetic, understanding and stuff is going to take you far, I think.
Oh, completely. Exactly. It's really just understanding people and each other totally. And being open to that and not needing to be right all the time. And that comes back to the confidence to say, I need to prove that I'm worthy to be here. So I'm going to demonstrate and change and push and challenge and all of those kind of things so that I look more competent. We've got to
Yeah,
eradicate that.
have to. And the thing is also because you step out of work and you have like social media platforms and the media and everything's very, there's arguments on Twitter. There's like, there's counter arguments online. I mean, there's just so many arguments and conversations and stuff. And I think, when you enter the workplace, you should be able to bring your whole self to work.
Completely.
And you should be able to, lean in and have conversations and listen and learn. And, don't be, what's the word? I'd say aggressive, but, just be open, be open to a conversation and it will take you far.
Yeah, and understand who you are as well, which is fundamental. I'll never forget, I once went to have a meeting. I've taken me a long time to go and have this conversation with a head of learning and development. It's a long time ago. And people tell me all sorts of things. I've just got one of those personalities where people would just share my energy. And this individual said, I think I'm going to leave. I think, oh, no, a long time to have this meeting. Anyway, so the door was closed. And, what's causing that? What is it that you think needs to change? What's making you think you need to go and work somewhere else? And this individual said, I just can't be myself here. I said, well, what's stopping you being yourself? And they said, my boss. And I said, what is it about your boss? Oh, they're really like corporate, a bit closed. I just feel like I can't approach them. I feel like they can be a bit sort of overly logical. They're not warm. They'll kind of like back me off and not really be around and those kind of things. And I said to them, okay, does this boss have a family? Oh, yeah, got 2 kids and a wife. Right, okay. Does he cuddle his baby? She was like, well, of course he does. Okay, so if one of the the older one, falls over and hurts its knee, does he, give him or her a hug and look after him and all that kind of stuff? Of course, and us women, it doesn't matter the size of your salary. Ultimately, we're not going to marry a cold, dry, unemotional person. This person, your boss, has got a lovely character. Everybody has this amazing set of values and character. He's just not bringing it here. And so actually, if you can help him to understand who he is and all these things, that warm, lovely father, husband, caring, kind, supportive, I'm here for you, advising, whatever, to his leadership and your world, wow. And that's the power of just understanding you.
Love that. What is it about the work that makes people change then?
Exactly.
It's weird, right? It's like they're whatever you just described, a super caring, compassionate, happy father, puts the suit on or the virtual suit or whatever,
becomes
and it's
cold, measured, logical, closed. I mean, we actually, as a movement, we ban the term employer and employee. We refuse to use it on our website. We're really like fanatical about it because it just creates this divide, this silo. We think we work for an organization. Well, an organization is just a set of people. That's all it is. And people that you see every day and work with every day, and maybe have work friends with,
Yeah, it's the same as the term work-life balance. I mean, the opposite of life is death, and people equate work to death. Yes. Come on, it's not going to work, is it? You can be like, oh no, I've got to go to work.
I know. And the happiest people I know in the world of work, and there's many of them, not enough, are the ones that don't need to have the divide. They actually, and they're not always in jobs that they love, but what they do is they have a different mental view of work, a different narrative that just says it's a bigger part of my life, an important part of my life, just like my kids, my family, my friends, my hobbies, everything else. And there's no divide.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, if you can get to that place, I think it's a great spot to get to. So what a lovely place to end. I feel that's a nice place to end. Positive.
Yeah.
But I love your message. I think a lot of it's, it's mental, right? It's working on your mind. I mean, for me, I bang on about this a lot, but I love doing exercise, like hard physical things. Because I find like when I'm doing like something hard, like I'm doing a run or I'm at the gym lifting weights, it really strengthens my mind. It's probably the hardest thing I do all day. you know. Then when you bring it into the rest of your life, other aspects of your life and stuff, you start to just, it's incredible.
Yeah. So that would be a value.
Really
it would be one of your values will be about challenge, testing yourself, growing yourself. And you should take that everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just you in all aspects of your life.
Love that.
Yeah.
Liz, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to put the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I guess people can connect with you on LinkedIn if they want to find you.
You can find me Liz Villani at Be Yourself at Work, and you can follow the Be Yourself at Work page on LinkedIn too. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining, and see you all soon.
Take care.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do not forget to subscribe in all the usual places: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you like to watch or listen to a podcast. Any comments or feedback, please drop us a DM. If you've got anything that you want us to discuss, again, feel